The bombing of Pearl Harbor and the history behind it. Pearl Harbor was bombed December 7, 1941. A major factor for why the attack on Pearl Harbor happened was over oil as well as other natural resources. At the turn of the century, Japan wanted to become its own empire, but lacked natural resources, primarily oil, to do so. Japan had been successful in wars against China in 1894 through 95 and Russo-Japan in 1904 through 05, as well as in the First World War with the Allies. During the Great Depression in the 30s, Japan began forcing its way into China to solve its economic and demographic problems, starting with Manchuria in 1931. In 1937, another Sino-Japanese war began. Japan captured Nanjing, and this is also where the Nanjing Massacre took place, which was basically 6 weeks of mass killings. Because of Japan's actions, the U.S. was forced to come out of isolation and step into World War II. They began passing economic sanctions against Japan, which included trade embargoes on oil. Because of the embargoes on much-needed natural resources and goods, Japan became convinced that war with the U.S. was unavoidable to defend their status as a major world power. Pearl Harbor was the main base for the Pacific Fleet and was established in 1940. Americans didn't expect Japan to attack Hawaii first, and thus left the base for the most part undefended. Japan's plan was to destroy the fleet and knock down morale in the U.S. Navy. The Japanese wanted the U.S. to be unable to fight back as they started to advance on targets all over the South Pacific. During the attack, 8 U.S. battleships were hit, over 300 aircraft damaged, and 2,400 Americans were killed. However, oil tanks, ammunition sites and repair facilities, and aircraft carriers were neither hit nor damaged during the attack. The Japanese then went on in 1942 to capture Western colonial possessions, including Burma, the East Dutch Indies, and the Philippines. Due to these acquisitions, oil and other natural resources became available to the Japanese. Because of the resources left undamaged during the Pearl Harbor attack, the U.S. was able to fight back against Japan. In June 1942, the U.S. retaliated in the Battle of Midway and were victorious against the Japanese. Overall, the Japanese failed in their objective to destroy the Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor and gained a new enemy in the United States.
Created using Powtoon.